Hi, dear friends, dear students. Welcome to Gallant IAS. And history optional students might have seen this book, A History of Ancient and Early Medieval India by Upinder Singh. A very worthy book that every history optional aspirant should go through, I would say. Now, the concern is how somebody can finish it very quickly. What all things you have to focus in this book? That's a concern for many. So in this video, I will tell you what all things you have to cover in this module, what all things you have to focus in this test book by reference book by Upinder Singh. Very nicely done. Okay, she tried to explore the political history of ancient India. It's something kind of a KGF history. Okay, usually we come across ancient India and people say that it is the most harmonious state of, or it was the most harmonious and very peaceful era of Indian history, Buddhism, Jainism, and all. But she tried to, with the help of the multiple references, multiple resource sources, she tried to explore various other aspects of ancient India also, like KGF, Rocky Bai, violence. Yes, she have gone through or she tried to put the case studies of various political violences of this ancient India, many more. Now, before getting into this, let me tell you one thing. Whether you cleared or not cleared this time prelims, my advice to all of you guys is finish your GS mains GS papers and your optional by this October itself. Okay. Don't think about finishing off your optionals or your GS after prelims. That's a blunder idea. Okay, 2023 prelims will happen in May. And after May to prelims, you will not get that much time to go for covering your optional and GS. So my advice to all of you guys, yeah, if you are giving mains this year, definitely you must have a very customized and intensive schedule which you follow and you have to finish, revise and take test by end of this August itself. Am I right? But if you are gearing up for next year, I would say by October at least you finish your GS papers and your optional, and also it is very much essential to practice answer writing and test series. Okay, so let's get into this. Yeah, this is a history of ancient and early medieval India by Upinder Singh. What all things you have to cover? Yes, introduction, there is ideas of early Indian past. She discusses on changing interpretations of early Indian history, historiography. No histories, no historians, unwritten histories. Just read it. Chapter 1, it's about understanding literary and archaeological sources. This is very much essential if you really wish to score from paper 1. Understanding these literary and archaeological sources of ancient medieval, it's very much essential for you. Vedas are there, how the Vedas treated us, or the Sruti literature treated us, a perfect source of history. What all it's, when I say perfect source of history, you will also have to go for its counter views. I mean, what all these limitations or maybe shortcomings of Vedas as a source of history. Now, Sanskrit epics are the Ramayana, Mahabharata. How or to what extent they are helpful in understanding the socio-economic, cultural, political history of ancient times. Puranas are the, Dharma Shastras are the, Sangam literature, earliest literary source of South India. So all these things, these literary sources you have to explore. What kind of the historical perspectives are discussed in these literary sources? Nature of ancient Indian historical traditions. Interpreting archaeological evidences. Different archaeological evidences are there. How can you interpret or how can you use them as solid sources of evidence? Then there are inscriptions. Then numismatics, coins are source of study. Okay, so various archaeological remains, how they can be used as sources of study. So this understanding is very much essential. This is chapter number 1, understanding literary and archaeological sources. Then when you study chapter 2, yeah, hunters and Paleolithic Mesolithic ages, there you have to understand the socio-cultural economic history of this Paleolithic and Mesolithic people. Okay, then chapter 3 is transition to food gathering. Yeah, you have to understand the farming cultures of Neolithic, Chalcolithic, or maybe what all these are like village, or maybe what all these cultural aspects of this Neolithic and Chalcolithic people, their social fabric, social settlement, social life, their agrarian settlement, okay, and the salient features of their life, all those things you have to cover well. Then next chapter is dealing with the Harappan civilization. You know that this module is important for your GS preparation also. You must have a clear-cut idea about Indus Valley civilization, the significance of early, mature, late Harappan phases, then basic salient features of these Harappan settlements. All those things you have to cover there about the society, culture, economy, religion, political aspects, international relations, or the trade ties, all the elements you have to explore here. Now next is chapter 5th is dealing with the cultural transitions from 2000 to 2000 BC, so BC to 600 BC. There you study the arrival of Aryans, okay, later phase of later Harappan phase, arrival of these Aryans, okay. So later Harappan phase, then this arrival of the Aryans, then you cover how this Sudhi literature, Vedas can be used as a historical source. Then the comparative analysis between Vedic and later Vedic cultures. Then Upanishads are source of history and source of wisdom. Archaeological sources about Aryan settlements. Then there is megalithic culture. Megalithic culture in India, especially peninsular India. Impact of fine technology. Then problems related to correlating these archaeological evidences with literary evidences. All those things you cover there. Then chapter 6 is about North India between 600 BC to 300 BC. There also you cover the 600 BC to 300 BC literary and archaeological sources, the relevance, the history of Mahajanpadas, then the role of the republics or the role of the Gana Sanghas, then this Magadhan culture, then Persian and this Greek invasions, then this land and agrarian expansions, then this second urbanization, the history of second urbanization, then the class, kingship, Varna system, caste, family, household, the history of these various social institutions during this 600 BC to 300 BC. All those things you have to cover well. Chapter 7 is about Mauryan Empire. Mauryan Empire. There you remember, even in prelims also they started asking questions on Kaudilya's Arthashastra. So cover this Kaudilya's Arthashastra extensively. Megasthenes Indica, Ashokan's inscriptions, various archaeological numismatic evidences of Mauryan Empire or regarding Mauryan Empire. Then the literary and archaeological profiles on or literary and archaeological evidences on the Mauryan cities, Mauryan townships or Mauryan polity, Mauryan social fabrics or social institutions, and about the Mauryan people, Mauryan administration, etc. Then about this rural urban life of this Mauryan age. Then Ashoka and his Dhamma, his contributions to Buddhism, and the various developments of this culture, art, architecture during this era, reasons and theories behind this decline of Mauryan Empire, where you come across Romila Thapar. Yeah, chapter 8 Interactions and Innovations. Chapter 8 Interactions and Innovations. There you study the political history of North India, especially the history of these Indo-Greeks, the Shagas, Kushanas, Shadavahanas, etc. Various archaeological, numismatics, and inscriptional studies and evidences, or evidences on the history of this particular age. Various schools of art, especially Gandhara, Madhura, Amravati schools of art. Then this, like the history of that post-Mauryan religious traditions. Now, chapter 9 Aesthetics and Empire. There you study the land ownership of ancient India, types of lands, measures, and tenures, agenda, art, Fahin's accounts and Huyan Sang's accounts, Fahin Huyan Sang's accounts. Okay, Huyan Sang is later on, but he also furnished accounts even that pre-Harsha's age. So that Fahin's and Huyan Sang's accounts on the socio-economic, political, cultural, religious aspects of these post-Mauryan ages. Mauryan and it's Gupta and post-Gupta ages. Now chapter 10 is emerging regional configurations, North India, various Pushabodhis and this Harshavardhana, many smaller kingdoms and the feudalism and the feudalistic society, economic culture and their features. Then various like land grants, okay, the features of the land grants, temple architecture of South North Deccan. So those aspects you have to cover very well. Okay, these are some important elements you have to cover from Upinder Singh. So let me tell you, if you ask me what all things you have to cover for history optional, let me tell you, this Upinder Singh, this is a good source, yeah. Then that Shagar Bandobade, Plashi to Partition for Modern India is a good source. B.L. Grover for Modern India is a good source. Okay, and typically speaking, typically this R. Sharma, Sadish Chandra are good source, NCRT is good source. Many more sources are there. Even I would suggest you L. Basham too. But the most important thing is like if you are giving mains this year, and if you, if you're about to start research on various textbooks and reference books for history optional, that is a blunder idea because you don't have time to learn something new now. What all you learned, you consolidate them. Consolidation has to be your priority. So whatever you prepared, since you prepared history optional, you might have covered almost all these 10 to 12 authentic reference books. Okay, it is not to make you tensed or confused, but I'm telling you, yeah, around 10 to 12 authentic reference books are there for history, for ancient, medieval, modern, world history and culture part, etc. But at least the very standard one reference book you covered for each area, that is more than sufficient. Otherwise, different coaching institutes are there, mentors are there, their comprehensive material also helpful, with their value addition notes, their material, their classes, class notes also helpful. Here what you have to do is like do maximum revisions and practice answer writing. It would be nice if you go for the toppers answers, the toppers with the history optional. This year you might have seen Sudhi Sharma, the All India topper, her optional was history. Go for her answers. Go for the toppers answers, history optional toppers answers. Then try to find out what all you do a comparative analysis on what all the problems with your answers, what all things you know you find unique in the toppers answers, or how they framed their answer in presentation structure, content wise, how they made their answer unique or scoring, what all things missing in your answers. Make an analysis, get the support of mentors, and I would say you revise well, study well, consolidate what you learned, and practice n number of answer writings for your paper 1, paper 2, section wise. Then you also must experience the full length test. Okay, that is also very important. Practice the full length test, which will help you to understand. Okay, yeah, the what is your pace of, whether you are able to cope up with that pace of this exam, whether you are able to finish this entire paper in that so-called prescribed time limit, whether you are able to answer the whether you are able to answer the question spontaneously. Okay, whether you are able to address all these dimensions of questions, or whether you are able to attempt all the questions which is demanded by the booklet or the question paper, for which you have to practice the regular test also. Okay, so these are suggestions from my side, and our batch also will start, the new batch will start this 26th June. Okay, the complete history optional course program for 2023. Okay, it will have the comprehensive coverage of your paper 1, paper 2, then answer writings, feedbacks, test series, and my personalized mentorships too. So all the best to all the warriors of this civil service exam preparation. All the best. Just keep going. Thank you.